Today, I'm going to tell you exactly how to get abs without extreme dieting. So, most people think that getting abs means starving, cutting out carbs, and doing endless amounts of cardio or hopping on the latest fad diet. And I'm here to tell you that that is complete BS. And I'm going to show you how to get visible abs while still enjoying your food. So, this podcast is for anyone who's looking to get leaner, get stronger without suffering through any kind of crazy diets. I've done it myself, not fun. And the reality is that abs are built in the gym, but they're revealed in the kitchen. But that doesn't mean that you have to eat like a rabbit in order to get there. If it's your first time joining us, I'm Matt Banwart. I own Red Wolf CrossFit in Huntington Beach, California with my wife, Caitlin. And we started this podcast with one goal in mind, and that was to make fitness education accessible, engaging, and effective for everyone. So welcome to Pack Mentality. Let's do this. I'm still on my one podcast a week for the next year on program design. This one's gonna be a little bit different. This one's a little bit more for kind of just everybody. And I'm gonna spend a little bit of time at the end on how to actually write programming to reveal abs, but I'm mostly just gonna be focusing on the just the reality and the truth behind getting abs and the smart way to get abs in the first place. So let's dive right in without further ado. The truth about getting abs is the fact that you already have them. Yes, go and look down while you're listening to this or while you're watching this. Pinch that fat, that little spare tire that you have surrounding your belly. Yes, you have abs underneath there. Okay. Now, if you have a little bit of an inner tube, that's okay. I'm going to tell you how to get rid of it. So, everyone has abs. They're just underneath that layer, and the goal is to reduce body fat while building core muscle. Okay, so fat loss is not just about ab workouts, and you can't just do endless amounts of crunches. That's not going to burn belly fat. I know that when you do crunches or sit ups, that you feel a burn there. It doesn't mean you're burning fat. Okay, even though that's kind of a term, and you can't spot reduce fat either. Okay, so unfortunately, I can't just target a specific area as a coach and be like, oh, poof, let that be gone. Okay, so you have to build muscle underneath it, but the kitchen is where it's going to start revealing those abs. And so a lot of people think that they have to go into some sort of extreme diets, okay, in order to get leaner or to lose fat, to reveal the midsection. And this is why extreme dieting backfires, and that's because rapid weight loss or fat loss also leads to muscle loss. And not only people get weaker, but then you don't get as toned, okay? So you're also going to get low energy, you're going to be in binge cycles of eating, okay? And I met plenty of people who are like, "Oh, I just want to tone, Matt." Okay, that's great. The problem is when you reduce too quickly, you burn too much muscle with it, you're just going to end up looking flat and skinny and look like a Holocaust survivor. Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay, you have to have some muscle, have to have a little bit of bulk to you in order to have some muscle definition to where you look toned. Okay, um, now, sustainable fat loss equals long-term visible abs, okay? This is going to take time, okay? You have to pretty much utilize fat as your main fuel source in order to burn it, and we're gonna talk about that right now. So the smart way to get abs is first up is to set up a small, keyword small, sustainable, second keyword, sustainable calorie deficit. So a 10 to 15% deficit is what we're looking for. Now that's not extreme, okay? That's, for your average person who's looking to at 500 calories in a deficit is typically one of the best ways to do it. At least that's just kind of like a cookie cutter answer for you, for those of you listening. Now, the thing is that when you're in a calorie deficit, we're talking about total calories burned throughout the entire day, including activity. We're not talking about your basal metabolic rate. Okay, so now I know some of you have looked at your in-body scans. You looked at your BMR, which is the minimum amount of calories that you burn every day at a resting heart rate. So if you're just sitting on the couch watching Netflix, let's just say that your BMR or basal metabolic rate is 2,000 calories. You will burn 2,000 calories laying there doing nothing. Okay. Now, if we add activity on top of that, we're probably going to burn a little bit more. Okay. And this is going to be highly individualized, but we're just looking at about a 500 calorie deficit on average, from including your total activity level and non exercise thermogenesis, which is just the movement that you do throughout the day. So even me right here, moving my arms around, just walking around, talking, I'm expending energy, I'm expending calories, and that is non exercise thermogenesis. So you do want to track your food on this, okay? Now, here's the thing: is you don't want to obsess over it. Now, this is what a lot of people start beating themselves up over. They're like, "Oh my god, I didn't hit my protein goal." Okay, chill out. Okay, it's okay. And then, or like, "Oh, I went over on carbs. I went over on fat." That's okay. We're here just to have awareness, okay? It's just there to give you feedback and be like, okay, I thought I was doing this, but this actually happened, or I ate this. Okay, that gives me feedback. Maybe I will choose something else other than that. Okay, it's just like in the gym when you're tracking a benchmark. You're not going to PR your lifts every time. That's just part of the journey. I'm sorry, but success is never linear, and it's the same thing. Like you're not going to smash every workout. You're going to have bad workouts every once in a while, just because you're not tired, you didn't sleep well enough, and that's okay. That just gives you feedback because you're like, okay, well, granted, I got 2 hours of sleep. I did this workout, didn't do great, but I still did this. Okay. Now, what can I do differently? Well, now I can make an adjustment. I can work on getting more sleep, or I can get more sleep tonight. That will give me a better workout tomorrow. And that's the exact same thing we're looking for in the nutrition when we're tracking it, is simply just to get feedback to be like, okay, I ate this thing. It had a good amount of protein. It also had a lot of fat in it. So I went over on fat. So maybe I can choose either a lower fat version of the same food or choose something else. That's all we're looking to do here. Okay. And that we need to prioritize protein and whole foods. So we're looking at about 1 pound of body weight, sorry, 1 pound of body weight in protein, okay, per gram. Sorry, I should say that. Sorry, I can't even talk right now. But so if I weigh 200 pounds, I should be eating 200 grams of protein. Now, an easy strategy to do this, and this is what I recommend to everybody that you do, is eat half of your body weight in grams of protein before noon. Because the problem is, if you eat it, if you get backlogged, and let's say you have a very small breakfast, and you just don't have time for some reason, that's okay. But let's say you have 150 grams of protein to go, and I have 8 hours left in the day. That's going to be very hard to do. It's going to be very frustrating. And then you're probably going to miss that protein goal. And then you're going to miss out on the muscle gains on that as well. And also the fat burning capabilities. Because protein is something that that uses a lot of energy to digest. So that's another reason why people recommend, or I like experts like us recommend eating a high protein diet, because it's very, it takes the body a lot of energy to digest. It keeps you full longer, and also you burn a little bit of extra calories for free just by eating a little bit more protein. So that's what we're going for here. It also preserves muscle and supports fat loss as well. It's not going to be a magic thing for you in terms of fat loss, but that is the main macronutrient that is the least likely to be stored as fat. If you go over on carbs, or you spike your insulin, or you go over on fat, both those macros are both more likely to be stored as fat over the long term, especially if you consistently go over on them in terms of especially if you're not expending the either a little bit less energy, sorry, a little bit more energy, or a little bit less. Now you want to focus on lean meats, eggs, fish, Greek yogurt, or just high protein dairy. Avoid high fat or high carbohydrate dairy. So like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt always work really well for your foods. Now you can also have the option of also reducing the amount of food you eat, but that's not fun. So I mean, really, theoretically, you could get abs by eating Skittles, donuts, Taco Bell every day, but you have to be at a calorie deficit. And the problem is with all those things, they're just super processed and super calorie dense. And so there's so many calories in such a small thing to eat that you're going to be hungry again. So it's very easy to overeat on that. So that's why we always tell people to stay away from processed foods. It's not that it's just that bad for you, but there's so many condensed calories that you can just pop it like a pill. Imagine just taking calorie pills. Like this pill is 1,000 calories. I'm just gonna pop it. It's similar to that. It's just really easy to get down to digest very quickly, spikes your insulin, and so forth. I'm not gonna get too far into that, but I'm just letting you know that that's why we choose high protein foods, because they take longer to digest, and they'll be more sustainable over the long run for both strength and recovery from your workouts. Now, you also need to strength train and have progressive overload. I'm not going to go too far into this because we already talked about this in program design, but you do need to train at least 3 to 4 times per week. That is the bare minimum. Okay. Now, you probably not. I'm be honest with you, you're probably not going to get abs by just training 3 times a week. It's just not enough. You have to be training minimum minimum four. I would say even 5 to 6 would be ideal. Maybe even seven. Seven being the seventh day being somewhat of a lighter day. You have to incorporate compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, and presses to build core strength. So a lot of people don't realize is that you brace a lot on these exercises. Okay, squats you brace, deadlifts you brace a lot on the midline, which is great for building strength and ab muscles. Same thing with the shoulder press, or any kind of pressing in general. Even on a bench press, you're still bracing your midline to drive that weight up and transfer the shoulders. You have to remember that the body works as one. Okay, even when you're doing compound lifts, even isolated lifts, your body still will stabilize in different areas. Okay, so the body isn't just like some separate piece where like a machine where it's just going to work one part and then that's it. It will work the whole body concurrently. It'll just work more muscle groups more than others. And others will be used more for stabilization, others will be used for contraction or the eccentric phase. Now, let's go a little bit more into oh, sorry, I even talk about direct ab work. This is a whole thing. So you do need to train abs directly because it is a muscle group, just like the biceps, right? Um, so you have to add direct ab work, and if you want abs, you have to train abs a minimum 2 to 3 times per week. I would see even up to 4, so that'd be, like, almost every other day you need to be training them. You can train abs every day because it's a small muscle group, but you do need to be careful because if you are really sore, yes, you should take some time off, but if you're not sore, feel free to train them as frequently as you want. So some of the best, ab exercises that I like, planks are number 3. They're up there just because planks do transfer to other movements in CrossFit specifically. Now, speaking more of a CrossFit context, hanging leg raises are fantastic. Okay, so that's not different, much different than a knee raise because it hits the knee raises are a little bit too easy in my opinion. Even if you're still kind of a novice or a beginner, leg raises especially if you can have your back up against something, are excellent, okay? Because you wanna keep your knees straight and you bring your feet up to about 90 degrees or higher and then control slowly on the descent, okay? Roman chairs do this really well. We don't have a Roman chair at my gym, unfortunately, but very, very good at training, especially the lower abs, but they get the whole abs in general. And then also, I really do like cable crunches. So you can do those here at the gym. I do have a cable machine. So you basically take the ropes, put it behind the neck, okay? And you pretty much just do a crunch and you just crunch down. Okay. That's probably one of the best ab exercises you can do. Obviously, we can't do a ton of these in our classes. So we do resort to sit ups a lot or planks. And that's simply because we don't have enough machines for everybody to use all at once because we usually have anywhere between a 10 to 20 person class. So we can't do that. But those are things you can definitely do on your own. In terms of rep ranges, you want to be anywhere between any sort of standard hypertrophy range. So I would probably wouldn't go any less than 8 and go all the way up to 30. Okay. So anywhere between 8 and 30 for abs is good. More than milligram, 15 to 20 is usually where I like to be at, all the way up to 30. I usually don't like to go below 15 for ab stuff in terms of reps, just because it's such a small muscle group, it needs a lot of stimulus. Now let's talk about NEAT. Talked about this a little bit earlier, non-exercise thermogenesis, and this is great because you don't have to kill yourself by doing a lot of extra cardio. So you do oxidize fat as a fuel source when you are breathing a lot, so very heavily. Okay, but you can still do this through weight training because you do breathe a lot during weight training, especially if rest times are short. It makes it more metabolic, and metabolic just meaning that you use that metabolism or food is being used as your main fuel source, and also um, uh, you utilize fat as a fuel source as well if you're in more of a fasted state. And you want to go for, in terms of NEAT, you want to go for anywhere between 10 to 15,000 steps a day. Yes, you heard me correctly. 10 to 15,000 steps a day would be ideal for free fat loss. This costs you nothing, okay? And just a little bit more extra activity. So just walk everywhere. Take the stairs, park far away, whatever you have to do, get those minimum of 10,000 steps a day. That's free fat loss that we're talking about is a free calorie burn, which is not extremely excruciating either. Now, if you have a hard time getting those steps in and you don't have a lot of time in general to work out, your workouts are just gonna have to be more intense. So there's your two options. You can either get a lot more activity in with like 1 hour workout and like 10 to 15,000 steps, or if you can't get 10 to 15,000 steps, you have to make that 1 hour very intense. Okay. Those are your two options. That's it. I'm not even going to it more. So take your pick. Either go longer and very short, or go very intense for a moderate amount of time. Totally up to you, but you got to figure it out. And low intensity cardio definitely helps. So like walking, cycling, but you definitely don't need to overdo it. We're not talking about like extra cardio, like getting the heart rate super elevated. But again, the lower the intensity is, the longer you're gonna have to go. Okay, you can't just walk for 20 minutes and expect that to be a good supplement. You're gonna have to accumulate probably close to about an hour plus of walking throughout the day. Okay, I'm not saying you have to do it all in one sitting. Great if you do, but if you cannot, you have to break that up and usually accumulate close to about an hour of walking. So if you don't have, again, you don't have time to do that, you're gonna have to make your workouts in the gym even more intense. And sleep. Sleep is extremely important in stress management. I know that this is kind of cliche, but poor sleep equals more cravings because it throws your hormones off. It makes you feel hungrier when you don't sleep, which is terrible for fat loss, right? Because then you just end up going over calories. And plus, if you don't sleep as much, you're up throughout the day more. So, of course, your body's going to crave more energy throughout that food. Now, you got to aim for 7+ hours a night because obviously the longer you sleep, the less likely you are to eat as well. So that's a 2 for 1 right there. You're going to feel better. You're not going to be as hungry throughout the day. And also that's less time that you're up to where you are tempted to eat something bad. And then you have to manage stress with movement. Okay. Exercise is the number one way to relieve stress. And also you have to focus on deep breathing while you're doing this and get into some sort of a structured routine. Again, if you need help with that, I'd be more than happy to help. Shoot me an email, matt@redwolfcrossfit.com. And real quick, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found any of my podcasts helpful, please share this with a friend. I really appreciate it because every time I see the numbers go up, it keeps me motivated to make my content not only better, but also really pushes me to really help more people because ultimately that's what I want to do. I want to keep doing this for free forever. That's my goal. And yeah, it'd be really helpful if you guys just shared it, liked it, subscribed, whatever, leave me a rating. Every little bit helps. I really appreciate you guys listening. Now, moving on to the biggest myths and mistakes that you can make while trying to get abs. So, thinking that you need to be under 10% body fat for abs is one of the biggest ones. Okay. You can actually have visible abs for men. You can kind of be in like that almost that 15% range and have visible abs. Now, lower the better, obviously, but as soon as you hit under that 10%, that is when you start getting cranky. You have to be a little bit more extreme with with both your workouts and your nutrition. Like we're talking serious tracking and everything on there. Now, some people are genetically gifted and they can just get there, and that good for them. But for the majority of us, no, that's not possible. So hovering in the double digits range is totally fine, and that 50% range is fine. And the ladies, lucky for you, you can be a little bit higher in that body fat percentage to reveal abs. You can be right around under that 20% range would be ideal, but I have seen some people on that 20% body fat that does have some ab definition, but you want to be in the high teens, ideally. You can go in the low teens. There's nothing wrong with that. Just know that things that you want to just be careful of how the hormones kick in because everyone's going to be genetically different and respond differently to lower body fat percentages. So just be aware of that. Also, don't be afraid to talk to your physician about it too. Um, and going on a crash diet is losing I haven't even defined that, but that just means simply that you're losing too much fat. Sorry, you're losing fat too quickly, and you're also losing muscle along with that. We don't want to do that. You also don't want to do endless crunches because we talked about this earlier that core strength does matter, but abs are revealed through fat loss, not through just hypertrophy alone, but mostly through nutrition. And then cutting all carbs and fats. Now, this is very unsustainable. It's unnecessary. So you have to be smarter with your choices, okay? So you have to stick with like fruit, vegetables, sub potatoes, maybe a little bit of rice, maybe a little bit of starches in general, but you just have to control it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's calories. Again, you can eat as many carbs as you want as long as you're in a calorie deficit. Doesn't matter. Okay. So you just have to choose carbohydrates or fats that are a little bit lower in calories or be more strategic on the types that you do eat. Okay. That's really all it is. So remember, everything taken away from this is just about being in a calorie deficit, resistance training, and showing up to the gym 4 to 5 times per week, training your abs 3 to 4 times per week as well. Done. That's simple. Stick with it. Make sure you get 7+ hours of sleep. Also drinking too many calories. This is something that's a hidden thing that people don't really realize is that liquid calories, like anything like juice, sodas, especially soda, high calorie coffees like Starbucks. Yes, I know, I'm talking to you. Alcohol, they add up really quickly, especially alcohol. Even if you don't drink during the week and you drink on the weekends, even just one drink can add up to an extra 200 to 300 calories right there. That's almost a meal. That's almost an extra meal. And guess what? If you're eating on top of that, or let's say you just binge drink all weekend and then guess what you usually crave when you're hungover? You crave for some giant breakfast burrito or something the next day, or you're just gonna eat a bunch of like really fatty foods because you need something to absorb the alcohol so that you're not as hungover. So it's really a lose-lose situation. So my suggestion to you, you can still drink. I don't care. Do what you want, but just figure out a way to where either you don't never drink at home or you limit yourself when you do go out. Okay. It's really your call on how you want to do it. Or just again, just track it, see how it goes. Because a lot of times when you see the data and you're like, oh my goodness, I did not realize how many calories I was just consuming from this one thing. And then you're like, well, I don't really need it because my goals are more important than my drinks. So your call. It's your life. Live it however you want. So now we're going to talk about realistic timelines and expectations. Okay. So how long will this take? The big question. How long is this going to take? Well, if you're already lean, it's going to take about 4 to 8 weeks with some slight adjustments. So we're taking dudes, if you're kind of in the teens, in the higher teens, it could take little as 4 to 8 weeks of really going hard in nutrition, upping up the volume and the intensity a little bit on your workouts, sleeping more, drinking enough water, eating your protein intake. Boom, you can have it in 4 to 8 weeks. Now, if let's say you need to lose about 15 pounds, it could take about 3 to 6 months of consistent effort. Now, consistent effort means that you don't mess up on your nutrition for 3 to 6 months. Yes, I'm sorry. No cheat meals. You're going to go hard for 3 to 6 months. And I'm sorry, but guess what? 3 to 6 months out of your entire life to get abs, not that much of a commitment. It's 6 months. I mean, come on. You probably went to school for God knows how long. So you can stick with this for 3 to 6 months of consistent effort, getting your workouts in, going from there. And it's all about consistency, not perfection. Okay. So you have to attach a time horizon that is appropriate to this. Okay. So this is one of the biggest mistakes people make is that, and I'm going to do another podcast on this, which is managing your expectations, because these things do take longer than you think. And it's going to be harder than you think, but it will be worth it. And that's why abs are so coveted, because at the end of the day, we all want them. I mean, have you ever met someone who was like, oh, I don't want abs. I don't want to look good. No. And there's a reason why we respect people with abs, or, fit people in general, because we know how hard it is to take that. So the people who are fit who have abs are a walking billboard to the discipline and the habits and the hard choices that they've had to make. And that reveals not only admiration for the amount of hard work they do, but also just for the type of person that they are. The type of person who can say no and can choose to do this despite feeling this. Because I we all feel the same way. We all have the same temptations. Okay, no, like, I love having a meat lover's pizza on a Friday night with a good old Pliny the Elder, and then I have like a Pizookie after. Don't get me wrong, I love that. And there are days where I want to skip workouts too. There are days where I don't want to come to the gym. There are days where the last thing I want to do is eat chicken breast and broccoli. Okay, so we've all been there, and it's okay. It's okay. Like anything worth having is going to be hard, and you can either sacrifice, you know, what you want for what you have now, or you can keep going. And kind of getting back into the maintenance versus extreme dieting is that once you do get lean, that maintaining is a lot easier than cutting. Okay. So think of this as like there's going to be some sort of an upfront cost to this, and that's totally okay. Like it's going to happen. And just like anything else, everything's hard up front, but then once you kind of get into it, like think of the first time you drove a car. It's kind of nerve-wracking, right? But now you just drive, and sometimes you don't even think. You just kind of are on autopilot and like, "Oh, I'm home. I don't even remember getting home." So like once you get lean, it's a lot easier to stay lean, okay? It's a lot easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape, okay? It's a lot easier to stay married than to find a spouse in the first place, right? Like kind of like just the initial suck for everything. There's always an upfront cost. And you have to focus on habits, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. Okay. So think of this, you're going to do this for the next 10 years. Okay. Attach a time horizon that is appropriate to this. So the final takeaway really from this is just that getting abs is all about building muscle. You still have to treat it like any other muscle group. You have to lose fat at a sustainable pace, and you have to be consistent and don't starve yourself. So action steps that you can actually take today is number one is track your food simply for awareness. Don't beat yourself up. Okay. This is simply just to let you know what you're doing and that you can make small adjustments from there. There's no other way around it. Okay. You have to have some sort of data in order to make decisions. Now, from there, you have to hit your protein goal. Again, you have to eat half your body weight in grams of protein before noon. If you wait any longer, that's going to be very hard to do the rest of the day. So you have to front load your protein. So that way, not only are you going to feel full longer and you're going to be in a better mood, you have better energy, but you're also not going to have to worry about hitting your protein goal afternoon, because that's when it gets harder. And that's also when decisions become a lot harder in terms of food. Because when you're tired, you make worse decisions. It's been proven. You have to strength train at least 3 to 4 times per week at the minimum. Okay. Now that's just strength training. That doesn't mean you still shouldn't be doing your cardio days, still shouldn't be working out. So overall workout should be about 5 to 6 times per week. Done. Non-negotiable. And then walk more daily. That's it. Okay. 10 to 15,000 steps. I know that's a lot for some of you, but that's okay. You can do it. I believe in you. Figure it out. You're an adult. Let's do this. Now, if you got any value from this, please share this with a friend. Again, really appreciate it. And if you need coaching to make this process easier, feel free to reach out to me. Be more than happy to chat with you more about on your specific circumstances. Shoot me an email, matt@redwolfcrossfit.com. I'd be more than happy to help you. Now, without further ado, thanks so much for listening and nailed it.